The month of April certainly wasn't the best for Bitcoin's price action. So now we have to assess whether things are likely to get even worse before they get better. Today, we're going to be doing a roundup to discuss Bitcoin's current conditions, and where better to start than the monthly returns heat map chart we have here on Look Into Bitcoin, which shows the month of April returned negative 14.36% returns for BTC. So obviously not a great month for Bitcoin's price action. And really, this has actually been probably the worst month we've seen in a number of years for BTC. In fact, you have to go all the way back to November 2022 before we had a month this bad for BTC, which is actually when Bitcoin set in its bear cycle low. So really, things haven't been this bad on a monthly basis for quite a while now. So many are kind of wondering if this is a bad thing. Are we likely to see even more downside price action? Are we likely to maybe see, after this mid-cycle rally, an extended mini bear cycle almost? Well, today we're going to look at a few facts and some of the data to see if that is a possibility, or if we should maybe be a little bit more optimistic on the future of BTC. So if we just look on the price chart here, we can see that from the start of April, where Bitcoin started at about $71,500, we finished the month dropping to, well, about $60,000. And now in the early May, as I film this, we're just beneath it, about $58,000. But we did actually dip temporarily to about $56,000. So we have rebounded slightly. But if we just scroll down a little bit here, we can see over the past month, Bitcoin has, like we said, had a very negative month in terms of its returns. But we can go down here and actually see that the Bitcoin sentiment has very quickly shifted to a very fearful sentiment, which actually, if you watch the channel a lot, this is a good thing. We are contrarian investors to some extent. We like to see a majority of the market turning bearish, losing hope, becoming fearful, because these typically are the most opportune moments for BTC. If we just go to the fear and greed chart here, we can see that we haven't actually been fearful in months for the Bitcoin price action. As we see a score now of 43, if I just scroll down so we can see the chart a little bit here, we haven't seen scores this low since Bitcoin retraced from around $30,000 to $20,000, temporarily beneath the short-term holder realized price, and many other metrics. At that point, we weren't sure if it was just a bear market rally, a little rebound in price action before further downside, but it wasn't. We rallied higher, and now already, still only about 20% down from new all-time highs, and investors are already getting incredibly fearful in the market. In fact, if we go to the Bitcoin funding rates here, we can see, yes, it's not been the best price action, but temporarily people were already looking to short BTC. And especially if we go to the coin-denominated funding rates, which is what I prefer to look at. I think it gives a truer representation of market sentiment. We can see that this actually became very much negative. It was actually the lowest Bitcoin funding rates we'd seen since all the way back here in October 2023, again, when the Bitcoin price was under $30,000. So we have to look back to months and months ago, over $30,000 ago, before sentiment was actually this bad. And if we just go to the daily chart, may become even a little bit more obvious. We can see here that the funding rates temporarily within April, on two separate occasions actually, went to as low as they had since back in May 2023. So we're talking over a year ago nearly here, where price action has just been pretty much positive, and the first sign of really negative downside price action, everyone's piling into shorts, everyone's betting on further downside price action. And I guess this is kind of warranted given the fact that, like we said, this is the worst we've actually seen Bitcoin price action since we bottomed in November 2022. But if we just go to the Bitcoin growth since the cycle lows chart here, we can see we're still actually way ahead of where we have been in previous cycles, which has so far kind of negated the theory of diminishing returns. So unless we see Bitcoin really have a deeper retracement, or at least go sideways for a long time, we're still kind of ahead of schedule of where we thought we'd be. And if we just look to maybe other cycles, we can see that this kind of boring sideways price action, if we are to see a little bit more of a range and consolidation in the price, is perfectly normal for BTC. In fact, the fact that we've seen over a 20% retracement in the Bitcoin price action is probably a positive thing. We usually see 20, 30, 40% retracements during Bitcoin bull cycles. And really during this cycle, we've really not seen many opportunities to flush out over-leveraged traders, to really allow new capital to flow in, build a solid foundation and a new price action base to go higher. So really, if we look at previous cycles, especially the 2018 to 2022 and the cycle before, the 2015 to 2018 cycle, If we look at a similar point in time in these cycles, if I just remove the first couple here, we can see that there is a possibility that if we were to follow these, we actually see the Bitcoin price action range for probably another few hundred days. We're currently 527 days into this cycle. And really, it wasn't until day 700 where we really saw the latter stages of the exponential bull rallies kick off. So 180 days away, 6 months away. There's the possibility for the rest of 2024. We do just see kind of boring ranging price action, not too bearish, not too bullish, kind of just to chop out leverage traders, really build a base, get a lot of people bored, not too much interest in the markets, so that when we do break new all-time highs, it immediately gains a lot of interest and new capital starts flowing into the market. Then we just go to the short-term realized price here. I think we can get a little bit of insight into whether we are likely to see considerably lower prices, or maybe we've set a temporary bottom, or maybe due a little bit of rebound. We can see if we just zoom over the previous two cycles here, that the short-term hold at realized price, so this is the average cost basis of new market participants coming into the Bitcoin space. We can see that when they're at break even during a Bitcoin bull cycle, this is usually a great area to accumulate BTC, especially if we look from the 2015 to 2017 cycle. Every time we touch this line, dip temporarily beneath it, because it wasn't like an immediate line of support. On multiple occasions, we did actually very temporarily wick beneath this line before we rebounded, because this really indicated that maybe short-term holders are capitulating, they're very fearful, maybe they're starting to short the market. And we're kind of seeing similar things now. And if we zoom in into the current market, we can see we have bounced off this on multiple occasions, apart from the time where we were temporarily beneath it, like we said previously. And now we can see we have very temporarily dipped beneath this line. So if we had to see a vast rebound in the Bitcoin price action, that would kind of be in line with what we'd expect from historical bounces from this line, and especially as we're currently seeing a little bit of confluence between the short-term hold of realized price and the 111-day moving average that we see in the Pi cycle top indicator here. If we just zoom in, we can see prices pretty much perfectly bounced off of this line, and historically throughout bull cycles, it has, well, we can see, provided a lot of buy support, and every time we've hit this, apart from when we've maybe consolidated beneath it temporarily, we've seen a very strong reaction in the Bitcoin price. And another metric that's definitely worth acknowledging is the stock to flow model. Throughout the month of April, we saw the Bitcoin halving event, which saw the Bitcoin block reward for miners go from 6.25 BTC per block, or about every 10 minutes, down to 3.125. So Bitcoin's inflationary rate is now lower than gold. We're the hardest asset in the world. So technically, this is great, a fundamental event for BTC that historically has seen rapid price increases. But like we saw from the Bitcoin growth since the cycle lows chart, this isn't an immediate reaction. And in fact, historically, we do actually see a little bit of a sell-off post-halving, like we've seen in this event. So usually it's a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news. We usually have at least a little bit of boring consolidation price action following that. But like we can see from this stock to flow model, once we have about a year transitionary period for maybe miners to adjust to the new earnings, once we have new capital inflows, this is really when we see the exponential rallies in the Bitcoin bull markets. So really, if we are to see a little bit of a boring sideways period, if anything, that's probably more bullish for BTC, because it allows more and more capital to start flowing in, allows new retail to hear about BTC, and it allows people to really feel like they're maybe getting a good entry for their Bitcoin price. If really we're seeing exponential run up, most, especially larger institutional investors, potentially through ETFs, don't necessarily want to buy BTC after it's been running up for a year, 2 years non-stop. They're not going to feel like they're getting value for money. So really, once we see these retracements of 20%, these extended sideways periods where people can just slowly accumulate BTC at a fairly reasonable price, this is when we're really going to build the solid foundation to rally Bitcoin to these much higher prices. So really, if we're to see a little bit of boring price action for the next few months, for the next 6 months even, this is probably good for the Bitcoin price action and massively increases our upside potential for the next Bitcoin cycle peak. Also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. And make sure to check out all the resources we discussed today, as well as the many more that are all available on lookintobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. So just to summarize, while the month of April hasn't been particularly kind for the Bitcoin price action or its investors, this kind of retracement and consolidation is very normal and actually pretty healthy for BTC during a bull cycle. Like we've said, it allows new capital to inflow at a price that they maybe feels a bit more reasonable. And it just allows the market to maybe breathe a little bit. A lot of metrics were getting overheated a few weeks or a couple months ago. So now that we've actually had this retracement, it really allows the market to kind of recuperate and build a solid base, especially post-halving for considerably higher prices. Although we do have to acknowledge that after a 20% retracement, there is always the possibility of further downside price action. But many metrics indicate that it is potentially unlikely, especially like we're seeing in the fear and greed index and the funding rates. We're seeing a lot of potentially over emotional, irrational reaction to a pretty normal BTC retracement. But if we are to see a little bit of retracement, we need to see this as an opportunity to potentially accumulate at discounted prices. But we do have to acknowledge that there is always the possibility of a Bitcoin rebound, like we could see from the 111-day moving average, giving a little bit of support. And in confluence to that, the short-term hold at realized price, the average cost basis for new market participants, giving them a break-even price, which historically has been an amazing buy opportunity during bull cycles. So there is the opportunity that we do rebound from here and potentially accelerate to new all-time highs. But really, what we need to do is just kind of hope, maybe expect as well, given historical examples, that we are going to see a little bit of a boring sidewards ranging price action period, but know that this is very healthy for BTC as it allows us to build a more solid foundation and really allow more fuel to the fire to really rally BTC to even higher prices during this bull cycle. If you like this video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to professional resolution charts, advanced macro and portfolio data tools, in-depth crypto industry reports, live and personalized indicator alerts, private TradingView scripts, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. And let me know what your thoughts are and how you expect Bitcoin to react in the month of May. Do you think we're going to continue the trend of downwards price action, or do you think maybe we are about to see a rebound in the Bitcoin price action? As I said, let me know. I look forward to reading and replying to all of them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.